Welcome, everybody. So what we've decided to do instead is have a conversation around the use and application of technology in teaching and learning in the current times that we face ourselves. And the reason we're going to have this conversation is because, you know, part and parcel of the Vula Meshlu support package that we've offered your schools is access to the Karabo e-learning app. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the application of this app and how you as educators can use it to deepen the teaching and the learning experience of your learners while they're at home or while they're in the classroom. And I'm going to be joined by Wandi Makubu. Wandi, I've introduced to you previously. Wandi is the most recently retired school principal of Unity High School, which for the last decade has been one of the top performing schools in disadvantaged areas or townships. Wandi has decades of experience and he's worked and collaborated with us over the last 10 years. His school is a SIP school, it's a technology school, and he's actually embraced technology in driving the performance of his particular school. So Wandi's going to share some insights and engagement. And I'm going to be shared in this discussion or joined by Chantal Morifi. Chantal was a school learner in 2014 at Germiston High School. She went on to become the head girl of that school. She joined us in our school program and remains working with me in the programs now, nearly 8 years later. Chantal had hands-on experience of running and managing the school press team, which was using technology in terms of creating and crafting content. And she, I would guess, is a millennial who is deeply engaged in social media and the leveraging of social media in everything she does. So she's currently employed at Connect TV as, I guess, our social media support. And she engages with social media in terms of driving communication and engagement, and is intimately involved in the Karabo e-learning app. So we don't really have a structured presentation. It's going to be a conversation, and we're going to throw it obviously open to everybody to participate and learn and share from each other through this conversation. So maybe let me just hand over to Wandi. I've got to show some people out, and then to Chantal, and then we'll kick off the session. Welcome, everybody.
Okay, welcome. Welcome to all you guys. Like Clifford has said, we had to change a bit to try and mitigate the problem that we had with the presenter today. I would like to ask Chantal if she's ready to start kicking off and explain to us the Karabo app and how it works. And I will encourage as many of you as possible to participate. Please ask questions. Please ask questions, please participate. You know, if you participate, we'll understand where you have problems. We just want you to understand that this is your platform to also voice out things that you need assistance with. Chantal, if you are available, please, can you kick off?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wandi. Thank you, Clifford. And hi to everybody. I think before I jump into what the Karabo Centre is about, I'd just like to lay the foundation in talking about how being a part of the press team in high school made a huge impact on my life when I was part of the Piermont School Support Program. And just in us understanding the importance of taking charge or taking grip of the opportunities that are posed to us, especially in terms of technology and the digital age that we're moving into right now with everything that's taking place. I was able to learn so much being a part of the press team, not only in terms of learning how to operate a camera and edit footage, but also to tell a story and also to change how my story, or rather how my environment, will not depict or determine how my future will land up. And that came with a lot of learnings, and I was able to also make an impact on other people's lives. So moving into the Karabo Centre, I just want to double check, Bronwyn, should I share screen right now for the presentation? Okay. Cool, just give me a second. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Right, so just before even getting to how the Karabo Centre started, I think we have stressed how much education is a fundamental human right. Right now, a lot of parents and teachers are looking for the right plug to the proper education. The Karabo Centre started in 2013, and this was where they were doing face-to-face interactions in Vosloorus with the learners. And through the face-to-face interactions, we got to realize how a lot of learners' lives had been impacted in terms of their education with these face-to-face lessons. And these were learners attending all over the East Rand, coming to Vosloorus. And the Karabo Centre educators were also the educators from the East Rand, from Vosloorus. We got to realize that apart from just the face-to-face lessons that were taking place, which were focusing on the STEM subjects of mathematics, accounting, physical science, and life sciences, that learners' marks were rising quite tremendously. The screen that you can see up right now is one of our learners, Kamuhelo, who is from Katlehong. Close to home, he has always wanted to study medicine. And he never saw himself ever being a top achiever as how he did achieve with the Karabo Centre. Kamuhelo achieved 100% average for pure mathematics, 97% for physical science, and 94% for life sciences. All this during the COVID pandemic. And this was through the Karabo Centre. In a testimonial video, which is available on our YouTube channel, Kamuhelo shares how the Karabo Centre taught him hard work, perseverance, and persistence. And it helped him literally increase his marks by more than 10%. Another learner that I'd like to share about is Kumo. Kumo's from Alberton. She achieved 92% average for accounting. She shares about how Karabo Centre made her the person that she is today. Without the Karabo Centre, she wouldn't have had the drive and the discipline to be where she is right now. And her marks literally improved tremendously from 70s to 100%. She also stresses in her video and, motivates for why people should join the Karabo Centre app. So if I have to look into, but actually before I even jump to the track record of our numbers, the one pivotal thing that we keep mentioning, especially when we've been doing our radio run on various radio interviews on radio stations, etc., is that the Karabo Centre and the Karabo e-learning app has not only made an impact on learners' marks and their education, but it has also made an impact on their lives personally. Learners have shared how their confidence changed. They had more self-belief in their self. They felt like they were a part of a community. They felt like they were part of a family. And this just shows how the Karabo Centre and with the e-learning app is literally helping these learners not only flip their future, but is also equipping them with the classroom in their pockets. If we look at the stats on this slide right now, as I mentioned, we offer for the gateway subjects, grade 10, 11, and 12 for mathematics, life sciences, accounting, and physical sciences. And how we have adapted this to the app is that all the lessons that learners receive face-to-face, we have recorded these lessons and they are available on the e-learning app. The great thing about this and the way that it just shows that domino effect is the fact that this app was actually designed and developed and created by one of our alumni, Andries, who was part of the Karabo Centre. And Andries actually achieved 6 distinctions. And he thought to himself, how could he give back to community and make an impact? And when the COVID-19 pandemic hit last year, he saw right to work on developing the app so that learners would have this hashtag classroom in their pocket and be able to still have access to education despite not able to go to class every single day. As we move on, in 2019, we had 661 graduates. In 2020, that grew to 714 graduates from the Karabo Centre. We've had a pass rate of 100% and university acceptance, which has been really great. And as I mentioned, the e-learning app that has been developed is available on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. These sessions are live stream sessions are also available on the app. And ever since we launched the app, app started last year, but officially launched on the 14th of February this year. And to date, we have 4,415 users on the app, and it is still growing. So we are looking to really get into national use all over South Africa. All right. If I can just briefly show you the grade progression year on year. If you look at the screen showing the National Certificate for the Awards 2020, you can see the results for physical sciences and mathematics in grade 11 and grade 12. You'll notice how for the grade 11s, the average is between 50, 59%, going all the way up to 80 and 80%, and what the overall average for physical science and mathematics looks like.
Chantal, just go back to that slide.
All right.
So sorry, what Chantal didn't mention, this is the same cohort of learners. This was their marks when they were in grade 11, and then the marks they achieved in grade 12. So if you look at the physical science progression, they were in grade 11 in 2019, and there were 47 candidates on the program, and you can see the spread of their marks, and their average was the 51% but you can see the where their marks were spread. 12 months later, when they completed matric, you can see that the use of the teaching app and access to the lessons had shifted their marks and the average from 51 to 76%. So you can see, for example, there were 6 grade 11 scoring between 30 and 39%. And the minimum performers the following year from the same students was 5 learners earning between 50 and 59% the following year. Similarly, in mathematics, there were 53 candidates. Their average mark when they were taken on in grade 11 was 58%. And 12 months later, when they completed their, in fact, it's 24 months later, they had shifted their marks where the average was 76%. So I think this thesis is, and I think we all understand this, if the kids have access to decent teaching, if they have the lessons, they have access to the resources, and they do the work, then we are able to move their performance, from where they're at to where we can get them. Now, shifting the quality of their passes is a critical outcome, because that might be the difference between either them passing or failing, or getting into university or not getting into university. And we all understand the statistics is that we're facing a massive youth unemployment crisis in this country. But university graduates have a significantly higher possibility of being employed or finding a job than school leavers. So one of our short-term goals needs to be to improve the mark threshold, to get kids who are failing to pass, to get kids who are passing to get university exemption, and to get these kids into university adequately prepared to perform at university. So the testimonials that Chantal referred to is these kids have gone on to do incredibly well at university. So not only has there been 100% pass rate and 100% acceptance rate to university, almost, I think it's 85% of the kids through this program have won themselves scholarships and have gone on to complete their degrees within the minimum specified time. What happens in kids get to university and they're not prepared or equipped for the university environment. They've picked the wrong subjects. They don't manage with the way material is taught or presented at university. They don't have the discipline or resilience to excel. So the challenge is kids go in for a 3-year degree and they end up spending 4, 5, 6 years or dropping out, which is a massive cost to the family in terms of resources, lost opportunity, and not finding a job. So of course, our challenge in making these kids resilient is ensuring that when they get to university, they're also able to embrace the way teaching and learning happens at a university environment. So I think this is just a very good indicator. So let's keep going, Chantal.
Awesome. Thank you, Clifford. I think I'd just like to remind ourselves that the pandemic has accelerated digital adoption. And with the third wave underway, we need to be prepared, especially in terms of our education, on how we'd like to move forward with that. So I just want to briefly touch on what to find in the Karabo e-learning app. So as mentioned, we've recorded lessons for pure mathematics, physics, life sciences, and accounting. And this is also included with exercises and video lessons. Now, in the next two slides that I'll get into, I'll actually show snippets of how the app actually looks like.
But before you do, Chantal, I'm also just going to jump in. Sorry. So what's important here is the lessons that have been recorded are the same teachers that have been running the Karabo Centre since 2013. These teachers have had very good results and outcomes from the learners who have passed through their hands in the last 7 years. So the idea was to take those teachers and their material and record their lessons and make them available digitally. And those lessons follow the curriculum and the lesson plan in the order that they are taught by yourselves in the classroom. So if you're teaching whatever, lesson 1 on Monday, there is a video lesson 1 available prior to Monday. And the lessons follow the content breakdown of your own lesson plan in terms of the CAPS curriculum. So it's been really, really simplified that the learner can follow the lesson that you are teaching in the classroom. Either you're planning to teach it tomorrow or you taught it yesterday. The learner is able to go and find that exact same lesson content taught by one of the Karabo educators. So with COVID now and many schools adopting, I guess, this platoon system, where kids are coming 2 days a week or 3 days a week, over a 2-week cycle, it means they are spending time at home. So the thinking around the app, of course, is when the kids have got access to a Wi-Fi hotspot, they can download the video on their phone for watching later. So the videos have been compressed, and the idea is you're not watching them streamed, so you're not using a lot of data to watch them. And the idea is when you have access to data, either at home, at a hotspot, or the hotspots that Vulameshlu has put into the school, the kids are able to download the relevant video and the relevant support material for that lesson. Now, as educators, this needs to be managed. In some cases, they're going to be kids that are very resourceful and are self-driven, and maybe that's the top 10 or 15% of kids in your cohort, and they're not really going to need the support, and they are going to access and use this resource. Then they're the kids that really need teacher support, guidance, and management. And this is where the concept of flipping the classroom comes in. So the concept of flipping the classroom essentially is premised on the idea that learners access the primary material and study it at home, not in the classroom. That classroom time is used for consolidation and revision. So historically, the way it worked pre-digital age, pre-COVID, is you as the educator presented the material, presented the concept, taught the kids, and they went home with homework. And then they came back the next day and you taught the next lesson. What's happening in schools where the schools are embracing technology, the educators are involved in a far more planned engagement. And so, for example, you might say to your learners, tomorrow we're going to be doing whatever, quadratic equations. I'd like you to watch the video lesson tonight before you come for the lesson tomorrow, so that when you are here tomorrow, you're going to be hearing from me, not the first time, you're going to be hearing the second time, and we will be consolidating and reinforcing the learning, and off we go. Alternatively, you teach it the first time and you ask them to go and refresh what they learned by watching the video at home or when they're not at school. So it becomes a tool which extends the classroom. And as Chantal referred to it, it's a classroom in your pocket. Your kids have access to these lessons when they're not in the classroom. So there are two types of learners. Those learners that are going to be self-engaged and are driven and are going to thrive with this resource, whether you direct them or not. And then you've got your learners that you're trying to migrate, those that are failing to passing, those that are passing to university exemption, and they would need a little bit more hand-holding and a little bit more management. Carry on, Chantal.
Awesome. Thank you, Clifford. So I'm just going to jump to the next slide. So very briefly, just want to mention that the app that I'm about to explain, the app is built for both Android and iOS, meaning that it is available on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And as Clifford mentioned, the users of this app can stream or download these lessons. Wendy, I think we'll share the presentation with you just so that you'll get a clearer picture than the ones that you're taking now.
Okay,
Awesome.
thanks.
No problem. And then as I jump into the app right now, so this is currently how the app looks like. But I'd just like to mention that the team is working on revamping the app and bringing in an idea of an avatar, where we're looking at gamifying the app and making it more relatable for young people. We honestly want it to be as engaging, and we want users to be on it as much as users are utilizing apps like Instagram, TikTok, etc. So we want this to sort of be like the new type of TikTok, where this could actually trend, but for the right reasons, for educational reasons. So as I mentioned, as you get onto the app, so you download it either from Google Play Store, Apple App Store, you'll get into a landing page which will ask you to register, and then you'll put in your details such as your name, surname, etc. And then once you have logged in with your details, then you will have access to the home page, which will show you the different subjects. But before you get access to the home page, we do have a payment gateway. So the Karabo e-learning app works similar to Netflix. So for example, how with Netflix, you would have to subscribe or rather make a payment for a monthly subscription or an annual subscription, and then you will have access to the content. We have been running an early bird special for the longest time, and also more details are available on our social media. But as I mentioned,
but sorry, Chantal, I just need to jump in.
Nope.
The app is fully sponsored for the supported schools on the MIC program. So the 4 primary, not primary, I don't mean primary as in not high school, but the 4 core schools that are supported by MIC, they have totally paid for the app for grades 12, 11, and 10 for a minimum of up to 100 learners in each subject, although there is unlimited utilization. For other schools, we are trying to raise donor funding to cover the costs. The schools that historically have been on this program, we are providing the app at no further charge to those schools, so long as they are able to cover the data costs of the Wi-Fi hotspot. So in the context of this program, there is no charge for the app. In the context of what Chantal is talking about, this app is available to individual families at 100 Rand a month. Or if they come via a school program, we do a discounted rate for an entire school. So it has a real value. This is not something, it's been priced to make it, let's say, affordable and accessible to our typical average poor and working families, but it's not for free. You know, the premise is, and I think we all believe in this, is if it's for free, it's not going to be used, it's not going to be utilized, it's not going to be seen as a resource of any value. So to come back to what Chantal is saying is there is a login page and there is a payment gateway for schools who aren't in the program. Your schools, you will be given a code. So working through Bronwyn, the intention is that your school needs to be registering the learners who are going to be coming on the app and are going to be coming on via the Wi-Fi hotspot. And they will be given a code to register on the app, and it would recognize them as being a member of your school that's participating in the program. The app does collect some information about the individual learner. And the reason we're collecting information is because we have donors who are funding this. They are very interested in outcomes. You know, they are investing money in education on the basis that it delivers outcomes, and we see improvement in outcomes largely in the performance of results. I guess the measurement of results is the simplest measure to measure any form of progress, but it's not the only measure to determine whether kids are doing better. So what is coming as part of the app will be a series of exercises to baseline the performance of the kids, their current marks, and then later seeing how they progress and how they're performing further utilizing the app. So the elements that are still being built would be regular testing and feedback. And where Chantal was going around the gamification is we're going to be measuring how much time kids spend on the app, how many videos they watch, and how their marks progress. And that will be the gamification part. They will earn rewards, and those rewards will allow them to dress their avatar. So they will have an avatar, which is a representation of themselves. And as they gain rewards, they can wear sunglasses and jewelry and have mobile phones and hairstyles, and they will see each other. And the idea is that these kids will begin to compete on this app based on how they look and how their avatar looks. But the only way their avatar can progress is if they're spending the hours, earning the marks, or we're seeing progression. And this is the part about making learning fun and making an education app live in the world of social media, in the sense that it's going to have these elements that will drive community and community engagement. What Chantal mentioned was, in the in-person Karabo school, there's a lot of friendly competition amongst the kids at the school. And it is that level of working with each other, working against each other, that helps focus their minds and drive their performance. You know, so we've got to get out of learning just as a didactic tool, that it is so dry and dull and binary. And we've got to give these kids something to make it exciting and interesting. I want to jump on the app. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to do my lessons. It's in my self-interest, but I'm also going to see my mates out there and be able to collaborate. Keep going, Chantal.
Thank you, Clifford. I think I'd also like to just mention how the Karabo e-learning app is such a game changer. You know, if you are allowing yourself to flip your future right now and get into the order of learning online and watching these video lessons and having access to these past exam papers, etc., you are preparing yourself for the future. Because with a lot of people, when they go on to study in university, etc., not all learners study face-to-face. Some learners do online learning, for example, with UNISA, etc. And this will better prepare you for that. It will teach you the discipline to be able to know that you have to tune into your own lessons, prepare before going through to class, you know, get in more information, etc. And maybe even start a friend group and share lessons with each other and share homework with each other, but prepare yourself before leaving high school and going into varsity. So on slide 2, this is just another breakdown of how the app looks like. So you'll see it says video lessons, it has past papers, exercises, and then it goes into depth now per subject, per topic, what exactly or what video you want to watch. And then as you can see on the last snippet, it is the actual video with one of our educators exactly explaining what the lesson is about. And yeah, I think that's about it on my presentation. I think I'd also just love to stress, especially for the grade, the class that is tuned in, please join us on social media. We're sharing so much content. We're sharing not only what the Karabo Centre is about, not only what the app is about, but also various testimonials from a lot of the learners that have been part of the Karabo Centre app. We share a lot of podcasts from the radio interviews that we've been doing, where other learners also share how it's been a huge impact. And we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we've just launched our YouTube channel, where you can also get more content from that side.
One of the things we're seeing with the learners that are on the app, they are predominantly grade 12s, but we're finding them spending a fair amount of time on grade 11 and grade 10 content. So once they access the app, it also houses the curriculum from grade 10 and grade 11, which allows them to go back and refresh areas where maybe they had points that were missing or they needed consolidation. So we are finding it's a very powerful tool. It is a work in progress. It is by no means a finished product. This was developed last year during COVID, when the Karabo Centre could no longer do in-person teaching. And it was delivered to really help poor, impoverished and township schools, because what we were seeing is that the private schools and the former Model C schools somehow had a teaching solution and kids were continuing to learn, while our kids in the township schools, basically learning had stopped. And they were becoming further disadvantaged, and the gap is getting bigger. And we had to come up with a solution. It is not ready-made. It is not 100% right. It is something that will get better, certainly with everybody's feedback and responses. We, to date, have used the teachers from the Karabo Centre, but we are totally open to bringing on and hosting other educators. So as we expand, we would like to expand the curriculum, possibly to go down to grade 8, and possibly also to add other subjects. So it is something that can grow as we grow and progress. And we are totally open to working with educators from any schools who would like to be involved in actually, filming their lessons and getting their lessons hosted. We do pay the educators for each lesson that they film. We provide the camera and the crew and the editors, but the educators actually come and prepare and present their lesson. So let's take a breather there and just throw it open before we go on, because I think we've spoken quite a lot. And let's see if there's any commentary or feedback from people sitting on the call. Maybe if you'd like to talk, raise your hand, and then we'll unmute you, or you'll unmute yourself.
Right.
Wendy, I think the floor we're going to pass to you for the minute.
Yeah, I want to really commend you for being a visionary. When we started this thing of digitizing education, we saw a difference in terms of the behavior of the learners. Learners, besides being exposed to this new digital type of learning, they themselves enjoy it more. Remember, there was an article in the newspaper where it was said that from our schools at Piedmont, it was said that since we came up with the tablets, learners were not absenting themselves from school because it's their time. That's how they're growing up. They're growing up in the digital world. So we just need, as teachers, to introduce this Karabo app to learners, and then the rest will just join in. We just need teachers to assist us in terms of advocating and introducing this to learners, to say we have the Karabo app. The learners must know about it, and they must be told, like it was said today. Unfortunately, not all of them were listening today, but if learners know that there's a Karabo app, the rest will come into place. There's a lot of advantages here. This is a game changer, like Chantel has said. It's an equalizer. Clifford, you said that. For Model C schools, the 4 days, 3 days that they live at home, they carry on with lessons because teachers do it online. Now, in the township, they attend 3 days, the other 2 days, they play in the streets. So this is one way of encouraging these learners to say there is more. Because of the COVID problem, when they're at home, it is not because they're supposed to just be playing and gallivanting in the streets. They've got work to do. I just want to urge our teachers and principals to please introduce and advocate this Karabo app. It is working. It is clearly working. We have heard from yourself, by yourselves, that learners who attend or who are participants in this Karabo app, they do well. So we need to improve the quality of results. There's no other way. Let us try and use this. One thing that is good and fortunate is that your schools have got free access. You don't have to pay anything. All what you need to do is to ensure that learners have necessary gadgets. Like the government has, fortunately, in many townships, the government has offered schools with smart boards and all. You can use that as well, so that kids can have access to this. We know that not all kids have smartphones, but those who have, maybe sometimes with laptops, they can share, encourage them to share with the others, so that they can all benefit from the Karabo app.
Thanks, Wendy. Musa, you got your hand up?
Yes, Clifford. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes, carry on.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. The Karabo app is a great idea. I foresee that perhaps the only challenge that we could have, is not with learners, definitely, is obviously with teachers. I think a lot of persuading needs to go on with teachers, because teachers will feel as if, they are being replaced. They're definitely going to feel as if they're going to be replaced. They are being replaced. And yeah, I think that's the only thing that needs to happen, is the conscientization of teachers to make them aware, to say that no, this app does not seek to replace them, but it's like more of a reinforcement, if I could use.
Yeah.
But also looking at learners as well. I think also the preaching to learners should be given, to say that no, this also is not a substitute of a teacher, rather. It's also, a reinforcement. So I think those are the kinds of things that just need to be said before the launching of the app.
Musa, 100%. The most important person in education is the teacher in the front of the classroom. And this is just a tool. And it's a tool to enhance the teacher's capability and impact on their learners. But I think the point that Wendy was touching on is we all have to recognize and accept where our learners are. They are all millennial or Gen Z. They've been born post the birth of Facebook. They've all grown up in a world where there are cell phones and digital material. That is their reality. And we need to meet them in their reality in terms of having an impact on their education. For many years, there's been this parallel conversation that technology has almost disrupted virtually every sector you can think of, except education. Think of healthcare, think of motor vehicles, think of TV content, wherever you like. You can see that technology has had a massive impact on those industries and the way things are consumed and done, except teaching was continuing in the same way in the classroom. And there's always been this debate. When is technology going to interface with education that's going to bring it into the 21st century, the way we teach, the way we learn, the way we engage? It does not replace the teacher. It is simply a tool and a device to enhance your ability to reach your learners and to get the type of impact and results that we need to help them in their own lives. So I totally agree with you, Musa. I think that's a great point. But I think Wendy was picking up on the fact that we need to understand where the learners are coming from. And when we look at education, we look at three big themes. The one is leadership and management, because that's one of the challenges in our schools. You guys operate in a very, very difficult environment. You don't have sufficient resources. You have all the challenges coming at you in the classroom. The kids' backgrounds, their families, the lack of resources. So how do you manage and lead in a resource scarce environment? Then the next challenge is what's happening inside the classroom? Because we know that the classrooms become a very difficult place, and equally, the curriculum doesn't quite feel right. The kids aren't really engaging. It's a difficult environment. So how do we change what's happening in the classroom to make learning and teaching more effective? And it's got a lot to do with where's the teacher at and where are the learners at? And then the last element of our program is working directly with the learners themselves to build their own self-esteem, their self-confidence, their belief in themselves. And that's where we work with them to create content. It's the public speaking and the performing arts. And importantly, we work with them to create content in the digital age. So use your cell phone, use your devices. Let's film it. Let's edit it. Now, it's a fantastic learning process to create a piece of content, because you don't just wake up and say, I'm going to create a piece of content. You need to plan for it. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? What am I going to perform? I need to rehearse. I need to plan it. Now I need to film it. I need to get the picture right, the light right, the sound right. Now I need to edit it to put it into a package. Now I need to play it and reach audiences. And all of those skill sets is a learning process. And every one of those learning processes is relevant in today's world, because we live in this digital world. So, the idea of this app is it's one part of a strategy to assist you, get to your learners. The The second part is with the provision of the hotspot in your school, you know, data is like oxygen today. You just need it to exist. You know, you need to have access to it because virtually everything is in a connected world, but some kids and families can't afford it, and that is holding them back. So the idea of the free hotspot is to make sure that no one gets held back because they don't have access to data. You know, unfortunately, we can only provide a certain quantum of it, and we can only provide it at the school. We can't provide it at their homes. But the issue is, it's a resource. It's gold. It needs to be used, right? And the question is how to use it. You know, it's a lost opportunity if the kids are using the data to surf Facebook and Instagram, as opposed to using the data to learn and improve themselves, right? So that's where this webinar series comes in. And the idea is, you know, at least for 1 hour or 90 minutes a week on a Thursday, we are going to bring really interesting thought leaders and conversations that should be challenging either to the leaders or the teachers or the learners themselves. And again, it's sorry, I got barking dogs.
I can see.
No.
You can see that you are in at this step. Let me take over a bit.
Can I, Wendy,
Yes.
can I also just come in a little bit?
Yeah, I'm
You know,
listening.
I'm totally for the Karabo app. You know, I totally agree with it. It's great. But my only issue is with regards to the subjects being offered, right? And I do know to say that it's a limited number of subjects, which is your maths, physics, life science, and all of that, which is mainly your ACE, which is mainly your ACE, right? And I feel as if these learners, yes, these subjects are forever given a priority, right? And you know, these learners now, in most cases, have got the top tier teachers, they've got the top tier app, so on and so forth. I am worried to say that, you know, with regards to, I don't want to call them my other learners, but those who are interested in the history, in, you know, in the geographies, there's a constant neglection of them happening. You know, it happens in the school, number one, you know, because they are not seen as the A-listers, but then it's also happening. I don't know if we could maybe try to, if it is possible, try to find a way to also be inclusive of them so that they could also benefit from something like this here. Because I mean, yes, mathematics could be taught by video and things like that, but so could history, you know, so could geography. So I don't know. I do understand to say that no, it's done. Everything is done already. Nothing could, but something that could be taken into consideration to say that no, we do have these learners, and the constant exclusion of them, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is one that is becoming very harmful as the years go on, because a child knows from grade 9 to say, if I'm unable to do maths, physics, life science, I'm going to fall under this stream. Immediately the idea of rejection is already, you know, in
No, thank you very much, Ntungwa. Yeah, I think last year we tried to integrate what Maths Lead, and I think the response was not good enough. But I'm sure Chantal can comment on this one. Maybe based on the budget, we don't know whether Bronwyn can also comment, because I think maybe including few other subjects like geography, maybe like he has just said, subjects like history, maybe it will make more learners to be involved in it, and we may assist, give the culture. The school must have that culture. We'll have that culture to say everybody is involved, because if a few of them are involved, sometimes we don't see them getting very serious, like Clifford said. Now, when things are free, usually people think that they are not worth it. But when they see everybody else is being is part of the program, maybe that will enhance the program. Chantal, can you say something about this? Are you still there?
Yeah, so actually, I think Clifford will be able to lead more on it. But what I did want to mention is that when I visited Germiston High School and I spoke to over 200 of their matric learners, a lot of learners did mention that they would love for more of the commerce subjects like your history, geography, and economics to be involved in the Karabo app. But this all comes back to the support and the funding that we are seeking through various individuals and corporates. You know, we need the support from them to not only provide us with the funding for the app, but this will help in terms of recording more of these video lessons, getting more teachers on board to record these lessons, edit these videos and put them up on the app. But I think, Clifford, if you can talk to that.
So Musa, if I can add, I mean, I think what you've touched on is our ambition and our wish. You know, the Karabo program grew out in 2013 because of the dismal math, science, physics results coming out of Phosphorus. And so initially, the DNA of this project was to remediate the fact that coming out of the township schools, kids were just simply not getting distinctions in these key subjects. So its DNA is math, science, life sciences, and accounting, seen, let's say, as gateway subjects for certain types of careers. You're 100% right. Our ambition and our desire would be to expand the curriculum. But let me offer you this. As part of the Vula Meshlu offer, we are also doing the public speaking and the performing arts, which very much talk to the kids in the humanities space. And the opportunity we brought to your schools is there's very much a program. It's not quite the narrow in the academic sphere, and hopefully we'll get there. I can guarantee you it won't happen this year. But if we can build success and find these donors, it's just a matter of getting the educators to record the lessons. You know, it's a matter of time and resources, and we can add lessons. So definitely that's a big takeaway. But the second part we wanted to talk to you about is creating engagement and self-learning amongst the learners. Now, on our digital stage, we have two themes, and Musa, you'll be familiar with this from last year. The first is public speaking. And our theme for public speaking is we ask our learners that if you were president for one day, if you had the power to make a difference and make a change, what would you do and why would you do it? Now, to prepare a public speech around you identifying challenges, problems, the causality of it, and offering up a solution forces you to think critically and analytically, to do some research, to prepare a presentation and deliver that presentation in a way that you can persuade your audience. Now, this very much talks to, I would say it's a crossover of history and geography, except it's a way of engaging in history and geography around creating a piece of content that not only do you have to show mastery of the subject and the facts, you have to prepare something that's going to persuade you know, other people. So Musa, I'm going to throw the challenge right back to you. And I'm going to say, until we are able to bring, let's say, the academic curriculum in terms of your ask, let's try and use the president for a day as a fun and engaging way to work with our learners to engage in material and content, which they will then present for other learners to view and watch. So that's the one part of the digital stage. The second part is we know there are many kids in our schools with outrageous talent, music, dance, performance, curation, design, that never gets recognized in our schools. So the second part of our digital stage is getting these kids to showcase their performances. We know, Wandi will remember in his school, we had the kids, what do they call the dance crews, where they dance off against each other. And when we start to celebrate these things and recognize these things, there's a whole category of learners in your schools who aren't on the academic pathway, who have real talents that don't get recognized. Now, I see Chantal nodding. In the age of social media and influencers, kids need to have a product to offer on social media to stand out. And the digital stage is that. So what we've done is we've retained a team of people. They worked with us last year. And we are going to put on a digital concert in 6 months' time. And what she's going to do, and this is what we would like you to do as the schools, is, and Bronwyn's going to organize this and convene this, is if you can identify a couple of educators who are willing to work on this program with Sam and Bronwyn, to identify those learners that would like to spend their time and effort in this area of the digital of the digital stage, right? And we're going to create a community where we're going to expose them to some of the best performers in the country who are going to share their stories, their background, their skills. And our goal at the end of 6 months is to host our own digital event on this webinar series, right? So Musa, I know it's not the answer you want, but it is an element of engagement maybe for those kids that aren't, you know, in the maths and the sciences. And possibly we can all put our heads together around how we possibly can create, you know, the content that you're talking about and to bring that to the table.
Can I step in, Clifford?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Can step in?
No, I think it's. I think definitely it's a step in the right direction. I was raising my hand there. I've been patiently waiting there for Bronwyn to please as soon as possible to send me back those cameras, because we've been dancing without cameras there. In fact, we actually started yesterday. There was 2 groups that were dancing yesterday, and could only capture so much with the phone, you know. So it's those kinds of activities that I'm looking to, just to, you know, give that that motivation, that booster to the learners who are not in those physics streams, to say that, hey, we do notice you guys, you know, not only notice you guys, but here's an opportunity as well, you know. So Clifford, as you mentioned, those concerts, those digital concerts, you know, those are great platforms, you know. The entire idea of having these cameras, you know, having these extra murals, if I can call them, is to say, you know, we're teaching in a very difficult environment, a very difficult one, and we cannot do extramural activities, for instance, like sports. Has been cancelled solely because of COVID, you know. But now there's a new wave that's going in of podcasts, you know, of having conversations, of dancing digitally and uploading your things, you know. So if we have those kinds of things, I think we then also, number one, balancing the learners to say that this is the new type of extramural activity that you need to be looking into, right? And number two, also looking at those learners who do have a talent, because it's rarely said that I've got a talent in maybe, say, podcast, in talking, podcasting, whatever the case may be. However, because of COVID, I do not have that opportunity to express or to portray my talent.
So Musa, here's the challenge to you. And I can hear your excitement around this creating content. We have to set a benchmark of excellence, right? So it's not okay to say, okay, well, let's just do a dance and we'll film it and we'll submit it to share. So what we've got to do is we've got to say, we're actually going to curate and perform the most amazing dance. We're going to blow people away. And then we're going to film it in a way that people can view it digitally and be exposed and take on our challenge. And there's a learning in that, you know, because you've got to curate the dance. You have to rehearse. You've got to get it right. People have to collaborate. Now we need to film it. We've got to work out how we're going to get the best outcome in filming and editing it in terms of sound and so on and so forth. And so, you know, what you're calling extra curriculum, for me, is almost becoming the main curriculum, because we're moving into this digital age where these are the core skills that if any of these kids want to get ahead in the workplace, or they want to get ahead as entrepreneurs, these are essential skills that they're going to need. So while they're having fun learning and dancing, while they're having fun dancing or performing or doing their public speaking, they're actually learning very, very real and appropriate skills as well.
Most definitely.
Anyone else other than Musa, who, you know, it is an open forum and, you know, there's no rules. You can't say the wrong thing. No one's marking you. So it's an opportunity. If you have a thought or an idea, if you'd like to share, please go ahead.
Now, I wanted to clarify what you were saying, Cliff, that they're learning other skills. Now they're learning to work in a team. They're learning time management. They learn how to collaborate, and they learn how to be patient. You know, they learn that sometimes not everything they do will be successful. They learn how to be resilient. There's so much else. There's what you call a hidden curriculum within the process. You know, if they are doing these activities, there's that hidden curriculum which people don't talk about, that kids learn a lot more than when they go to class and just sit and listen to a teacher. It's an opportunity for them to also know that they can be independent in thinking. Because at Unit, what we did, we actually let them have the drama. They conjured up the drama themselves. No one was involved. They choreographed themselves, because there's so much talent. The choreography, they did it themselves. All we did was just manage them so that they can just work together.